Hey Internet, it's Phil again. Just giving you the day 9 update. Um, Woke up feeling physically fine again. Um, Again, just a little bit of frustration really though today. So I'm hoping I'm not going to make this into a giant rant blog. But this will take your mind off my ranting. Check out that lovely site. Got Millie. Say hello to the Internet again. And Amy, the royal one. And the one we call Mr. Blue Sky. Constantly saying his own name in my mum's voice. Well, I guess the frustration was all based on the fact that the more research I do, the more I realise that hardly anything's been being done on terms of research into brain tumours and brain cancer. And it kind of brings me back to research that, Billy, oh, he's such an attention seeker. Oh, come on, give me some room. Stop playing up to the camera. Right, yeah, and anyway, so it brings me back to research that I used to do on the whole AIDS epidemic during the early 90s, because basically in, I think it was 1996, was when antiretrovirals finally came out. And that was one major medical advancement in that it gave people with a death sentence the ability to live a normal lifespan. And that really only came about by lots and lots of groups of activism. Anybody who's ever looked into the history of this may have known of a group called ACT UP. I guess they were kind of popular in the gay community at the time, but I think it's always important to remember that is not a specific gay disease. That is a disease anyone can get. And I've got to say, if anyone thinks there's a stigma attached to that, I would much rather have that right now than an anaplastic astrocytoma, because it would mean I could get treatment and live a normal, long life. Just like in that vlog where I said, when I first came round after my first seizure and someone said, you've had an epileptic seizure, I kind of wish it was just that, something that I can live with and I can treat. Now, what's frustrating me at the moment the most, though, is the lack of communication between oncologists and patients on what is happening in terms of innovation. I understand that they don't want to, set false expectations and so on, but I think it's only fair that, if patients want to see slides of what's happening with their cells, then they are given that. An important thing that happened yesterday was we finally got in contact with the family that started the government petition to increase funding into brain cancer research. And that petition was set up by the sister of a guy that was diagnosed when he was only just 19. Now, when I was just 19, I had a large collapsed lung on my left side, and I ended up in Wolverhampton Hospital and having to drop out of Wolverhampton University at the time. And that at the time was the most scary thing that had ever happened to me, and I thought it was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And the pain that I went through with that in terms of the treatment with the chest draining for about a week, it was horrendous. So I just cannot imagine what that guy must have gone through when he was only just 19, being told a diagnosis like this. Very sadly, he died when he was 26, which I think is abysmal in terms of the prognosis, and it just shouldn't have happened. He should still be here now. There's people out there that for some reason are responding to treatment better than others. That needs to be looked into, why other people are, responding better than others to standardized treatments. But, there's people that have grade 4s and they've been living for like 20 years, and that's, one up from what mine can mutate into, basically. And in the medical community, they're calling it the Terminator and so on, and it's just disgusting that it's people with that, and, well, like what I have, are being just written off by our government. I'd be much more useful to them alive than dead. I can't drive for 2 years, so I can't pay the government road tax. And if my condition gets worse, then and I can't work, then obviously they're not going to be getting income tax off me. But obviously my goal is to not let that happen and to continue working as long as I possibly can. But on Wednesday, this petition is going to be submitted to Parliament to be considered for debate. And I don't like this word, considered. It will be debated. It's got to be debated. It must be. Because it's a fact that it's the biggest cancer killer of under 40s. Now, however you look at the population, the under 40s are the biggest portion of the workforce. Excuse me. Now, it makes sense to me to keep as many of those as healthy as possible and keep them in work. I certainly don't ever want to leave work, and I would absolutely love to start driving again. I loved my car. I'd not had it long. I'd had it since last September. I loved driving my fiancée around and going on little adventures, like when we went to Cornwall, or when I took her to Lincoln for a wedding there, and wedding ceremony there. And it's a massive amount of independence that's been ripped away from my life, and I don't want to lose hope in the medical community, in their ability to innovate, but the only way that's going to happen is if they're given more funds by the government, really. So on Wednesday, we've done all our bit. We signed that petition, and it completed pretty quickly compared to other petitions. So, the UK population has done its bit in terms of getting that petition to meet its criteria for submission. So on Wednesday, I've contacted lots of, I've even contacted like the Daily Politics, and because I know they cover the Wednesday PMQs and so on, and I've contacted a lot of my local newspapers like Chester Chronicle and the Wrexham Daily Post, just desperately trying to get awareness out about this before Wednesday. So anyone that shares my videos or just likes them or does anything to increase awareness, even if it's to keep spreading awareness of that petition, because I understand you can still sign it even though it's past its 100,000 requirement. So yeah, that's just where I'm going to leave it today then. So I'll see you later, Internet.